There's a Friends episode where Ross practices UNAGI, which is a state of total awareness, and Rachel and Phoebe make fun of him the whole episode, like scaring him and telling him UNAGI is just a type of eel. And you probably don't remember this, but by the end of the episode, Ken Griffin has swooped in and bought the skeleton that Ross was working on. But the point of this episode was don't pretend to be fully aware unless you are willing to be made fun of for days. A couple years ago, a guy who graduated Columbia at 19 wrote a 165-page PDF about the future of AI, and he called it situational awareness. And his name is Leopold Aschenbrenner, which is not an anagram for I am the new Oppenheimer, but like damn, it was close. And no one actually read the PDF, but everyone did pretend to have read it, like a bit like Capital in the 21st century. Like, who's got the time? R is greater than G, AGI is coming, we get the idea. But from that PDF, he raised a few $100 million for a hedge fund, absolutely yeeted into stocks and made 1,000% returns in a couple of years, even though no AI stocks were up 1,000%. Fishy. Then, those stocks dipped a little bit, and everyone realized that the 1,000% gains that came about because he was balls deep in leverage, and it turns out he thought the hedge fund meant owning a shrub. The banks were like, holy shit, we just lent $30 billion to a 25-year-old kid who was 7 years old during the last financial crisis. Maybe he doesn't know much about risk. So the banks asked for their money back, and Ken Griffin, who is that hedge fund manager, and he is totally committed to the bid of buying extinct dinosaur fossils, he swooped in and bought Aschenbrenner's portfolio for pennies on the dollar. I also put in a bid for the stocks, and I offered a Chipotle gift card with $8 on it, but it came second to Ken Griffin, who offered him extra guac. And everyone's been making fun of Aschenbrenner on the internet, but if you're going to call your hedge fund the I am very clever hedge fund, and then you do something not very clever, of course we're going to make fun of you about it. The only big assets he has left are the ones he literally couldn't get margin called on, which is the dirty secret of finance. If you never get margin called, you'll never lose. Like, if you have to mark to market, then the market knows you're the mark. I think he only held on to his Anthropic shares to impress his girlfriend, who is chief of staff there. And look, who amongst us hasn't bought $1 billion of Anthropic stock to impress a girl? Leopold will be fine. His fund is still up 80% on the year. He's still worth a few $1 billion more than me, and at this point, he's learned an expensive lesson in leverage, and so now is all in on Anthropic in both his personal and his professional life. So for the last couple of years, Aschenbrenner's been going around being like, I have UNAGI, and Ken Griffin was like, that sounds tasty.